Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode of the Franchising 360 Show. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me, as always, is Danielle Wright.
Hello.
Danielle, how are we doing today?
We're doing great. How are you?
I am good. I'm getting excited about the weekend, but I got to figure out what to do.
I love when you tee things up.
I think that may come into play here later, but we had this is kind of a different, we usually do questions at the end,
okay.
But we had one that came in the other day and thought it was a really good thing to talk about because we discussed this topic a lot. And so the question is from Elizabeth in Atlanta.
Okay.
And so Elizabeth says, you guys talk a lot about the plan, and she put it in quotes. So I kind of felt a little like attitude with the quotes, but we'll let that slide. So you guys talk about the plan and all the ways a franchise can help. What is one trait you think is important for someone to have besides following the plan that will allow them to succeed as a franchise owner?
Wow.
So
very deep
there's
question.
A lot of
there's
words
a lot there.
But
She
still,
gets a mug.
even though, like, I'm going to put the air quote or the quotes on this one when I send it to Elizabeth in Atlanta, but she does still get one. And if you have a question, thefranchising360show.com. The more things you send in question-wise, the easier it is for us to plan these things. So send them in. So Danielle, what is the answer to this? What would you say is one trait that will really help someone succeed besides following the plan?
Oh, it's tough. I think you have a better answer than I have one. I don't know that there's one trait.
I mean,
I'm a big fan of people like being human. Like, remember you're a human. Other people are human. Like, let's be a human.
And it's easy to talk about being able to, hey, you probably need to work hard, right?
Yeah, that's a trait. Yeah.
But I think, especially in relation to the plan, I'm going to go with three of our favorite letters.
Oh.
So we have FSO.
So maybe there's a graphic popping up on the screen. FSO. What does FSO mean?
Well, that's a great question.
We're an acronym. Industry.
I'm glad you asked that because there's a couple in franchising behind the scenes. FSO is sometimes a little,
which we call franchise sales organizations on my side.
Right. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes
it's a thing.
It's not. But for us, and when we talk about franchise owners and just business owners in general, FSO is figure stuff out. This is a family show, but we usually use a different S word for that. But it's figuring stuff out. So,
but what does that mean to figure stuff out?
Well, like, I'm trying to figure out why I need to figure stuff out if there's a plan, right? So,
because you're very black and white, right? Like hey, you tell me to do this, I'm going to do this. If you tell me to jump, I'm going to jump.
If I don't,
you don't ask a lot of questions, clarifying questions to those things. So I think when you think about figure stuff out, like we're saying this very slowly so we don't say the wrong things. It's kind of, as something happens, what do I do?
Right. But they're like, well, we have a plan, right? So, but I think just
in plan for everything.
General, as a franchise owner, you have to be the one that wants to figure stuff out, right? Because there's let's be honest, this is really hard work owning a business. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. Stuff's gonna go wrong. And yes, there's gonna be things in your training and the plan and all of those, but just everyday things that are gonna pop up. And some people would rather be that armchair quarterback going, the boss should have done this. And if I was in charge, I'd have done that, right? Why did they call that play? They should have done this. Okay, there, smarty pants. Do you want to actually be the one that has the ball in their hand to kind of make that?
Or are you the person that does that in your everyday life? I think if we pull out of all the things that we're talking about, we look at business ownership or life in general. Like, what happens when your hot water heater busts? What happens when you don't have air conditioning in the state of Florida? What happens? Like, I think this episode's going to be more anecdotal so that people can kind of hear, oh, I've had that situation occur, so that it better understands what figure stuff out means or when you're going to be required as a franchise owner to do it. Because just like you said in the plan, like I always say, phone a friend, there may not be a time or an instance where you're going to phone a friend. You're going to spend more time phoning a friend or multiple friends versus figuring out the resolution to the problem.
You get the paralysis by analysis thing. And I think if you're sitting there and you're like, well, in my current job, do I actually enjoy, problem solving, or does somebody come to me like,
that's big, right?
Hey, Danielle, I'm not sure what to do here.
And if you don't want to solve problems, then you probably honestly shouldn't be a business owner. And I hate the word problem. We go back and forth about that all the time. Right. Like we try to find
the problem is,
and we don't like anybody that says that to us instantly. We're having a sidebar conversation. Is it really a problem, or is it just something that needs a resolution?
Or can you only point out the problem, or can you also, hey, I've identified a problem,
like you said about the armchair quarterback,
and I've got, here's 2 or 3 potential solutions to it. But right, so there's certainly a lot of examples that we can give with this. And let's do that when we come back.
Okay, I'm here for it.
And talk about how FSO could be 3 of the most important words or letters in your success as a business owner. That on the Franchising 360 show when we return. And we are back on the Franchising 360 show. The lovely and talented Danielle Wright with me, Tim Parmeter, as always. 3 of our favorite letters. FSO. Figure stuff out is the...
I think you just keep waiting to say the other word.
I just want to say a bad word and see if I get in trouble. So we talked about this a little bit before the break, but some examples of, because there's we probably could go for hours on kind of sharing some ways in which franchise owners... I
think that's best for our viewers, right? Like they
may have to. Yeah. So fire away at one.
Figure stuff out.
See, right now you have to figure something out.
Well, this doesn't pertain to franchising, but I'm going to use the beautiful studio that we're in and the team that works here. We had hurricanes, and that created this instance where things may not be running correctly, or you've got to figure out how to make sure I'm not losing business, I'm not losing revenue, and I'm still be able to do the things that I need to do. So maybe I'm patching a hole, maybe I'm putting on a tarp. That's the figure things out that someone's not going to always give you that answer, especially if it's a franchise opportunity. I think you've got a great example from a cup perspective, yes. So,
because there's some, and we talked about labor last week. We can definitely go on to that too. But if all of a sudden you roll in, and my favorite analogy of Tim's sandwich shop, right? You roll in, and you're like, we ran out of cups, or napkins, right? What are we going to do? All right, folks, let's just close the doors today. We don't
and some people will do that.
Right.
It's a travesty.
I'm sorry, folks. We don't have napkins today. Just, use your sleeve, or here's Tony over here. Just use his over and over and over. We have to figure stuff out. And that's not one of those things that you're going to call, on a Saturday morning, you're going to call your franchise and go, oh my gosh, I ran out of napkins.
They're going to be on the other end of the phone. And you called me for that?
Somebody's...
you got a Walmart around or something?
Right. Or maybe there's another exact franchise location like yours. Maybe somebody owns another one across town. You can run over to have the specific ones.
Right. The logo branded items.
Right.
Yes.
But again, these things are going to happen. And again, you have to have that owner. You kind of have to be the one that okay, yeah, well, I'm going to figure this out. We've got then, and again, take that positive spin on something that seems negative.
Well, but to your point, we've referenced a lot here, follow the plan, follow the plan, follow the plan. So for someone very much well, you told me to follow the plan, right. Tim Parmeter.
Right.
That's not part of the plan.
And the delivery was supposed to come, but something happened with the delivery truck, and
which does happen.
So again, any number of things. Maybe we messed something up on our end. Maybe the delivery truck. We didn't
account for how many we really needed, and we had more. Again,
all sorts of things. But we had. I think one of the other traits, kind of that goes with FSO, is the positive nature a franchise owner needs, because stuff's going to go wrong.
Right.
And so if you are sitting there and going, oh man, we're out of cups. I knew this was going to happen. I knew I shouldn't have owned this business. And
using it as the end all to be all, the world is falling apart.
Right. Nobody likes Eeyore, right? Not even Pooh. Okay.
Well, so Pooh Bear does like Eeyore,
but just a little bit. But again, that's not, when we talk about labor, you're not going to want people around you all the time. If you're oh my gosh, we're throwing a hissy over something that, again, Is there a Walmart down the street?
You're going to look for that, back to the labor, you're going to look for that trait in people that work for you, because as we were given a reference while we're on break was kind of, hey, I don't come to me with the smallest of things. There's a dependency that happens if you also don't look for people that have that FSO mentality. Right. And it doesn't have to be big. It's not like I'm asking them to figure out world hunger. Right. I just, how would you make it through one step to another if you didn't have a guide or something telling you that? I said, I think I've lived through a lot of different things that just said, I had to figure it out. I mean, going back to after you get out of college, like, what are you going to do? You got to get a job. Okay. How do I do that? Right. Like, and you've never really had to do that before. And you don't really have the support in that. It's the same thing with the franchise. Yes, they'll be there to give you a resolution or options. Sometimes you don't have that kind of time. No,
and you're exactly right. And it can go into a lot of other different things, and even in maybe from a franchisor standpoint. So more on FSO when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. Danielle Wright, Tim Parmeter. We are trying to FSO segment 3 here on the show right now. So to figure stuff out, one of the really invaluable traits, not just franchise, but any business owner, kind of leader needs to have. And so I think we talked about this a little bit from even labor last week a bit, but there's another big area of owning a business. We kind of need customers, right? And so there can be some money. There can be some things that we need to kind of be able to, some stuff we need to figure out from a kind of marketing standpoint as well. Correct?
Yes. So I think what you're getting to is how does FSO apply to my overall operation of my business, Absolutely. Right? Because we talk about plans, all of those things. The franchisor does give you a marketing plan, but sometimes it doesn't always work in the market that you're in. And I don't want to say it doesn't work. It's just, it's not going to go the extra mile.
One thing may work better here versus that.
So the way we've been talking about figure stuff out is when something negative is happening. This isn't negative. This is, how do I get more, right? Like, that's a positive piece. I'm happy where I'm at and it's good. It's fine, but I really want to be here versus here. And so figuring, how do I get from here to here? Like you're saying, customers, dollars, brand recognition. How do I take this and turn this into the thing that I really started out with? And that's on you. Like, am I going to figure out, am I going to be the person that's going to be forward facing? Am I going to go out into the community? Am I going to do events? Those are all things that are tied to the progression and the growth of your business. You got to kind of figure out, is that what the market wants to hear? Is that what your community wants from you to do that? And that's a figure. Is it you or is it someone else?
Well, and I think also not just the market, but you as an individual, as an owner, right? So a franchise may have, hey, here's a half dozen best practices in order to get customers. And if you and I are a franchise owner in the exact same system, we may we would lean more on one versus the other. You enjoy, you actually like people. I don't like people, right? So you being that face of the business, a fun, happy, personable, pretty face out there versus crotchety old man that doesn't like anybody. So you might be out connecting, building referral sources, doing things kind of public facing. I may not want to do that as much. So I either have to hire somebody or maybe I just spend more money on digital or other things, correct?
So correct, right? Like if that's yes, but even the person that wants to be more forward facing, there's only so much time in a day and there's only so much that I'm going to my bucket is full and then it is empty and then it has to be filled and then it is empty. So figuring out for me, what's the best thing for me to do as an owner, but what's going to be the most valuable asset for the business? What's that another 3-letter scenario, return on investment does not always mean money.
Right. Well,
so my investment of time,
right? It's the rot, not the
it's how much time am I willing to give to this? And that's a figure. That's a figure for me. Anecdote. This morning I was talking to someone and they have 2 young kids and they volunteer at the school and they need something that can balance that life to where I can still drop my kids off. I can still have, mommy time and I still can pick them up from school and then still go back into that. So I have to figure out what works for me and what's going to give the business the best return. Or even when we're talking about looking at franchises, I want to find the thing that gives me that. And so again, FSO pertains to every aspect of the franchise industry and business ownership in general. Like you are never going to have, and I mean never going to have, a perfect day.
Except at Coco K.
Wow.
Maybe, I don't know. I think we can get a sponsor from Royal Caribbean on that.
No, I don't think so.
But but it also goes back into, you were kind of leading into what that day in a life is for an owner, right? And so you've got to kind of figure out, you talk a lot about the 7 spinning plates.
Yes.
Right?
I love my 7 spinning plates.
And I promise to not put you on the spot and make you name all 7 right now. No. But if you want to be more, you may want to be more forward facing, well, then you've got to hire somebody over here.
Yes.
I may not, so I may have to hire somebody for that. Right? And to be able to kind of, all these things need to be done. The franchise is giving you need this person, and this person. Well, which one do you want to take as the owner? Right. You're the boss, so you get to pick and choose.
That's the fun part.
Right. It's like and I'm totally stealing this from one of our franchise buddies, do what you do best and hire for the rest. And so being able to figure out what that is that you do best, what you enjoy best, and then hire for the rest. Or in marketing, maybe you're spending the money somewhere else versus your time.
And I think the key of this whole episode is just you're not going to buy a business or start a business and just be completely devoid of any kind of decision making.
Kick your feet up and let it make money.
Figure stuff out means I actually have to make decisions. And is that something that you like to do? I know we go back and forth regularly on the simple decision of, What's are we having for dinner?
I am hungry too. So let's come back to some of those last little pieces, maybe also figure out what we are having for dinner. And we'll do that on the Franchising 360 show when we come back. And welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. Thanks as always for tuning in on your Friday night to join Danielle and I to talk about like franchising stuff.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for thanking me.
I wasn't thinking you, I was thinking them. So, but we have to figure stuff out tonight. And so we figured out how to do this, I guess, sort of.
Yes. And I think that's going somewhere, but I'm not sure.
I don't really know where.
But back to the figure stuff out.
But it really is, I think, like it never stops as a business owner in general.
Or as a person.
Right.
We had to figure stuff out to get here. We had to figure out what we were going to wear, what we're going to talk about.
Right.
I mean, you like the figure stuff out. I think what we like about the figure stuff out is when we run across people that don't know how to figure stuff out.
Right.
Those are fun conversations.
Right. And I think when people come to our team at Fran Coach and like, maybe I want to look at this, maybe I want to do this, and we ask them why.
Okay.
The word everybody uses is control, right? So that could be time,
yes,
flexibility of their schedule, freedom,
finances.
But a lot of times it's making decisions. They've got a job where they are frustrated with leadership, how the business is being run, and they're sitting there going, I think it would be better if we did this or this. And if you're sitting there like at home watching this and you're nodding up and down like, ooh, let me tell you about my day today at work, then this really might be for you because you have to have that mentality.
Well, and the same thing happens because you generally take it from that perspective. And I'm over here, hey, if you're operating a business, why did you decide to do that?
Right.
Because you thought that you could take something and make it better.
Right.
And you wanted the same thing you're asking for, right? Like I wanted control of making those decisions. I wanted the opportunity to take this thing that is delivered to me, this product, this service, make it better, make the guest experience better, build a brand that people know. You wanted the word control. Yeah. You wanted that opportunity to put your name, your face, this on this brand. And now you've perfected that per se. And you want to be able to offer that to other people to do the same, to really take control of their lives with this thing that you decided to figure out how to make it happen. Become a franchise. You had to figure it out, like legal. You had to figure out, how do I get an FDD? How do I have the money to be able to do this? How do I have the staff to be able to support it? So figure stuff out is really across all boundaries and barriers to be able to say that I've successfully done something.
Right. So now let's say somebody is sitting at home and going, I would like to figure out how to do this. Right. And so
we don't know. We're still working on it. We still figure it out every day.
if you are sitting there and you've got a business and you're like, hey, I'd like to turn it into a franchise, or I have a business, I want to help it improve.
We know the people.
Like, right, createashift.net and Danielle. And if she doesn't know, she'll probably,
I've got
figure it out.
A guy. Yep.
If you're thinking maybe I would like to own a franchise, that's more our team. Francoach.net will help you figure out if you should and which one.
And that's important. Sometimes you don't have to figure it out by yourself, though. That's something we didn't talk about. Like, figuring stuff out isn't necessarily a single person's job.
Right. And again, that goes back to the plan, right? You've got all the groundwork for it. You've got people. Again, your phone a friend. Is it somebody in the franchise? Is it another franchise owner? You're just...
Next week, you need to tell me which game show that comes from, by the way.
Phone a friend?
Yes.
It's the millionaire one.
Okay.
I think maybe. So, but no, it really is key. And so again, I think if you're nodding up and down to I like doing that, then this really could possibly be a path, and we'll help you figure stuff out along the way.
Yeah, come join us on the crazy side of franchising.
Exactly.
So, do we have a question for next week?
Well, we do.
We do. Shocker! Someone really must have wanted a mug.
Well, they do, and they're going like hotcakes. Let me tell you. So, no, we do have a question, and for whatever reason, like, they were embarrassed. They didn't want to give us their name.
Okay, perfect.
Because somehow knowing a name and a city or state, we're going to be able to pinpoint who that is.
Maybe Bob in Pennsylvania.
We could have figured stuff out on who that was. So,
especially because of our audience and all.
But really, what the question was about, kind of what we were talking about earlier, like customers.
Okay.
Like, how do we get the name and kind of the awareness of the business out there?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's a lot of ways to do it. I wouldn't suggest, doing a TV show. And
you don't have to figure stuff out. You're going to completely a little bit along the way, but you're going to have tons of help with the franchise.
Yes. So is that what we're going to talk about next week?
You know what? We're going to do this same bat channel, same bat time next week.
I'm here for it. I may need a new wardrobe, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, we'll or just flip that maybe inside out.
Perfect.
Nobody will know the difference.
No one will know.
But until next Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific here on BizTV. Thanks for tuning in. That's Danielle Wright. I'm Tim Parmeter, and this is the Franchising 360 Show.